Welcome to the Positively Portugal Football Report for Round 7 of the Primeira Liga season. My name is Howie. We have a lot of ground to cover today. In addition to the Primeira Liga, we're going to be talking about the future of football videos on this channel, but we're going to start with the Europa League, where Braga and Porto were representing Portugal in the group stage. They just had their first group stage game. Braga wins 2-1 at home against Maccabi Tel Aviv. That almost ended pretty disastrously for Braga. They went down 1-0. They played down for most of the game. Then Bruma scored a goal in the 88th minute and converted a penalty in the 5th minute of stoppage time. Braga wins 2-1. In the 8th and 9th minutes of stoppage time, however, Maccabi received 2 red cards. So that game ended just about as ugly as you could possibly imagine. Braga played with fire, and they got away with it. However, Porto got away with absolutely nothing. They got an early goal in the 8th minute by Samu, and then they quickly found themselves down by 2 goals at halftime. In the 51st minute, Bodo Glimt, the Norwegian team that they were playing, got a red card, but 11 minutes later scored a 3rd goal. Now, I probably said Bodo Glimt incorrectly. I'm not sure what the proper pronunciation is. I've never been to Norway. I don't speak a word of Norwegian. I wholeheartedly apologize if there are any Norwegians watching this video. So, Porto played a significant chunk of the game up a man. They got 1 goal back in the 90th minute, but by then, hey, it's a day late, $1 short. And Porto was just, they were awful. They didn't deserve to win. They didn't deserve a point. They didn't get one. They outright lost in Norway to Bodo Glimt. So, not the best of starts in the Europa League for either Portuguese team in it, but at least Braga comes away with the win. Now, moving on to the Primeira Liga, Sporting won 3-0 at Estrela on Friday. Estrela gets their first win of the season, 2-1 against Farense. Casa Pia and Vitória played to a 1-1 draw, and Casa Pia is dangerous. After starting the season very poorly, they've gone 4 games without a loss, 2 wins, 2 draws, and hey, as for Vitória, like I've been saying, if you can't score, you can't win. Now, they did get a goal in that game, but it was a Casa Pia own goal. So Vitória, ever since that derby, just not getting it done. But Benfica is not having that problem. They are getting it done. Ever since that managerial change, getting rid of Roger Schmidt and bringing back Bruno Laga, holy cow, Benfica is just on fire. 5-1 over Gil Vicente. Famalicão and Nacional played to a scoreless draw. Porto bounces back from the disaster in Norway. They beat Arouca 4-0. Santa Clara 1-0 over Boa Vista. Braga 4-0 over Rio Ave. So even though Braga won their Europa League game, they didn't look good doing it, but they looked really good against Rio Ave over the weekend. And in yesterday's Monday game, AVS and Farense played to a scoreless draw. So my question here is, who made the decision to put this game as the standalone Monday night game? Farense, it was the first point of the season for them in a scoreless draw. 7 games now, 6 losses, 1 draw, 2 goals. So, if you're not scoring against AVS, who are you scoring against? And notice the question that I just asked. It wasn't if you're not beating AVS, who are you winning against? The question was, if you're not scoring against AVS, another newly promoted team, who are you scoring against? Because I think it's pretty obvious there's not going to be many wins in Farense this year. I think their best shot for any wins, they got to make a managerial change immediately. They are not going to be able to wait for the January transfer window. And let's face it, who are they going to bring in anyway? It's not like they have loads of money to throw at somebody. And they're going to have to win these games with a new manager. They're going to have to pull off 1-0 games, maybe 2-1. But if you're only scoring 1 goal every 3.5 games, I mean, how are you going to score 2 goals in a single game? So I'm lost on Farense there. I don't know who they lost from last season to this season, because last season Farense was a revelation. They played pretty well for most of the season, given the fact that they were newly promoted from the season before. So the team of the week is going to be Estrela. You got to hand it to them. They were playing awfully, almost as awful as Farense, but hey, a win is a win, and it's the first win of the season for them. And the week's biggest loser, it's going to have to be AVS, because the way that we asked the question about Farense, if you're not scoring against AVS, who are you scoring against? The question for AVS now is, if you're not beating Farense, well, who exactly are you going to beat? So, at the top of the table remains unchanged. Sporting in first, Porto second, Benfica third, and Santa Clara holds on to fourth. Those are your European teams. I'm going to still look for movement in the near future. I believe Benfica is going to take over Porto, and as much as it's fun to watch Santa Clara, and I'm happy for them, I don't see how they can hold on to fourth place. In the relegation zone, obviously there's Farense. I'm certainly not going to look for them to move out of that this season. Nacional is right there with them, and in the relegation playoff spot is Boa Vista. Now, obviously, it's still early in the season, 7 games down, 27 to go. But the one thing I want to say about Boa Vista is you can't keep doing this. You know, I was talking about Braga playing with fire. Okay, but Boa Vista is playing with fire every season. They're finishing near the bottom of the table, barely avoiding the relegation playoff, avoiding the relegation zone, but they're not going to be able to keep that up. Boa Vista, to me, is a lot like Everton in England. You have the much more popular, bigger club, the way Porto and Liverpool are, and you got these two teams that are just becoming not feeder teams, but teams that have no ambition. And they're not going to be able to fight off relegation forever. I think Boa Vista will be able to fight it off for the most part, simply because of Farense just being completely lifeless. But don't be surprised when Boa Vista goes down. And that's going to be a shame for Portuguese football, because they are one of the 5 teams that have won the Primeira Liga. And yes, there are only 5 teams who have won it. So now I want to talk a little bit about football videos on this channel. This is going to be the final season where I do the weekly reports, and for several reasons. As you know, I'm moving to Portugal at the end of November. I'm going to have the opportunity to give you better football videos. And that's by traveling around, by going to different cities, going to different towns, different stadiums. As I've said before, one of my goals is to just go with Vitória to every single game. Have a season ticket, see all the home games, travel to all the away games. I'd like to do that, kind of just see what the story of the season becomes. And, of course, I'm choosing Vitória because I'm moving to Guimarães. Other things, these videos are not enjoyable to make. They lack creativity. For the most part, it's me reading scores off of an iPad. I don't know how interesting that is to anybody. The only reason I started doing it was I wanted to bring attention to the Portuguese league. And I thoroughly enjoy Portuguese football despite not having a horse in the race. Even though I'm going to adopt Vitória as my new hometown club, I'm not a Vitória fan because of my connections to the city of Madrid. I've always been a Real Madrid fan. Now, the other thing, I will admit that watching sporting every week has become a guilty pleasure of mine. It's very relaxing. They play such beautiful football, and it's just never in doubt. I really enjoy watching what Ruben Amorim has put together at Sporting, but I'm not a Sporting fan. So, I don't want to say that it's half-hearted when I make these videos, but in a way it is. Just because I like Portuguese football, it makes it a little bit more difficult when you don't have a vested interest in it. And, you know, the other reasons are, I guess, the performance of the videos. This season's football videos are not doing as well as last season's. And last season's football videos were important to me because that's what spurred the growth of this channel. It became really popular. I ended up getting tons of subscribers when I started doing the football videos. Now I have well over 12,000, but it hasn't followed through to this season. The amount of subscribers have leveled off. I haven't lost anybody. It is still growing, just a lot slower. But the final reason is my football videos are not going to make sense with the direction of the channel. The non-football videos that I have are, I want to call them important videos. Obviously, I don't want to come off sounding arrogant. And nothing I say is really important, but I think that my videos are somewhat important because I think they can help people. I think they can help people learn more about the process of moving to Portugal, what's involved, what is not true out there on other YouTube channels or printed articles. And as the weeks go by now, you're going to see more powerful videos from me, more emotionally intense videos. You're going to see videos about me saying goodbye to Florida, me saying goodbye to the United States, and then the adjustment of life in Guimarães, which is going to be a lot different from anything that I'm used to in Portugal. I'm somebody who's only been to Lisbon, Porto, and Portimão. And I know I'm going to be moving to a city that's different from Lisbon, Porto, and Portimão. So, how do you follow it up just a few days later with videos where I come off sounding like a newscaster reading scores off of an iPad? So I understand that these football videos don't really kind of mesh with what I want to accomplish on this channel. They were necessary last season. They served a purpose, and I really wanted to highlight Portuguese football. But I can do better videos next season, better football videos. And now you might ask, well, why don't you just stop making the videos now? Because I believe in finishing what you started. I think it's silly if I make 7 weekly football videos and then put a stop to it. I feel the need to continue these videos through the end of the season. But this is going to be the last season where we do the weekly report. However, if you're a football fan, specifically a Portuguese football fan, don't worry about it because I'm never going to abandon Portuguese football. I'm just going to have better football videos. So that being said, if you like Portuguese football, if you want more about the process of moving to Portugal, one man's story of moving to Portugal, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment. But subscribing is the #1 way to help a content creator. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll be back here in a few days. Have a good one, everybody.